Frankl conducted his pre-war psychiatric practice between 1930 and 1939. But a storm was approaching. When the Nazis annexed Austria, Frankl worked hard as the head of the neurology department of a hospital to help patients avoid being classified as mentally disabled. The Nazis would practice abortion and euthanasia on anyone considered mentally disabled. Frankl married his wife Tilly around 1941. But then, just 9 months later in 1942, the Nazis arrested his whole family and sent them to the concentration camps. Frankl was given forced labor, his father died of starvation, his mother and brother were gassed, and his wife, Tilly, was taken to a different camp. He only learned her fate after the war. She had been forced by the Nazis to abort the child she and Frankl were pregnant with. Soon after, she died of typhus. Only Frankl and his sister survived the Holocaust. It was in these camps that he noticed a phenomenon which confirmed his idea of logotherapy, that humans are driven by meaning. Because whenever a fellow inmate lost all sense of meaning, he would simply stop fighting to survive and perish. Woe to him who saw no more sense in his life, no aim, no purpose, and therefore no point in carrying on. He was soon lost. But those who had a strong sense of meaning would fight to stay alive at least a little longer. And what's more, Frankl found himself able to convince 2 of his fellow prisoners not to commit suicide, reminding them that they had a reason to stay alive. One was a father. Frankl helped him remember his child was waiting for him in another country, and that gave him some strength. Another was a scientist who remembered he needed to finish the series of books he was writing, and that his work could not be done by anyone else. There is nothing in the world, I venture to say, that would so effectively help one to survive even the worst conditions as the knowledge that there is a meaning in one's life. There is much wisdom in the words of Nietzsche. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. I can see in these words a motto which holds true for any psychotherapy. In the Nazi concentration camps, one could have witnessed that those who knew that there was a task waiting for them to fulfill were most apt to survive. The same conclusion has been reached by other authors of books on concentration camps, and also by psychiatric investigations into Japanese, North Korean, and North Vietnamese prisoner of war camps. One time, Frankl was digging a trench and desperately missing his wife when he had this reflection. I was struggling to find the reason for my sufferings, my slow dying. In a last, violent protest against the hopelessness of imminent death, I sensed my spirit piercing through the enveloping gloom. I felt it transcend that hopeless, meaningless world, and from somewhere, I heard a victorious yes in answer to my question of the existence of an ultimate purpose. At that moment, a light was lit in a distant farmhouse, which stood on the horizon as if painted there, in the midst of the miserable grey of a dawning morning in Bavaria. Et lux in tenebris lucet, and the light shineth in the darkness. Finally, in 1945, the Allied powers liberated the camps. Frankl was free.